I got a fever, and the only prescription is more ball knowledge. Welcome back to Good Sports For You, where we are talking about good sports for you. And today I'm talking about the quote-unquote ball knowledge epidemic. And I got a lot of opinions on it, but before we hop into it, I'll remind you to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate it so much. So I basically want to talk about things that I've seen on YouTube, on Instagram, whatever it may be, comment sections, videos, and it's people criticizing other fans for their lack of ball knowledge. And my point is, who cares? Everyone is at a different level of ball knowledge. It's okay to be a casual. It's okay to be a diehard fan or wherever you are in the spectrum. And everyone has their own individual things that they really are knowledgeable about. Some players don't know a lot about the history of the game. There are some players who do know a lot about the history of the game. These are professional MLB players. Of course, they have ball knowledge. But like one video I saw and it was like, oh, like who's the oldest baseball player that you can think of? And a guy was like, I don't know, like Babe Ruth. There was like 50 years of baseball before Babe Ruth. It's like those guys you would say, quote unquote, don't have ball knowledge. And so that is my biggest issue right now is there's a big discrepancy, I think, in what people view as ball knowledge and just general knowledge as a whole. Anyone can go on Baseball Reference and find a player who's really niche, very specific, right? Like all these guys that I have up here today, I got for one reason or another on the bobbleheads to showcase ball knowledge. You have Mario Feliciano, right? Mario Feliciano, I think, played like 3 games in the MLB. So he would be ball knowledge, right? However, you could easily exclude him because he was a top 3 prospect in the Brewers system. If you're in tune with the Brewers prospects, you would know Mario Feliciano very well, right? Wes Helms, this tiny little bobblehead, well, he had a multi-year career. You know, he had one season with a well above 100 OPS plus. He shouldn't be ball knowledge, right? That's what I'm seeing some of these people say. You know, they say, oh, this guy was a one-time all-star, therefore he's not ball knowledge. You got right here, you got Derek Turnbow. Derek Turnbow was an all-star. People don't know who Derek Turnbow was, especially considering that his all-star appearance was in the early 2000s, right? Or mid-2000s or whatever it was, you know? So therefore, he shouldn't be ball knowledge, right? Yes, he 100% is ball knowledge if you know Derek Turnbow. Okay, you got Dalton Varsho. Dalton Varsho is obviously a current player who's very, very good, one of the best defenders in the game right now. But did you know that he went to UW Milwaukee? Because I did, so therefore I know more ball than you. Is that the way that it works? Like, that's where I'm just confused. Or what about Casey McGee? Do you guys remember Casey McGee? Because Casey McGee was well in the race of the Rookie of the Year. He had a fantastic Rookie of the Year season. He just didn't play a ton at the very beginning. That's why he wasn't higher up. So therefore, he shouldn't be ball knowledge, even though he for sure is. So my point is, there are levels to all of this. I know a lot about Brewers ball, so therefore I can say to anyone, no, you don't have ball knowledge. You don't know who Jeff Jenkins is. I was watching a JM baseball video, like John Boy Media, right? And it was their classic ref guess game where they look at a baseball reference page and they try to guess who it was. And I saw it and I instantly knew that it was Jeff Jenkins. Jeff Jenkins was my favorite player when I was a little kid. He left the Brewers when I was like 3 or 4, like in the 2008 season, right? I knew that it was Jeff Jenkins. That does not mean I have more ball knowledge than Jolly Olive and Jake from John Boy Media. Those guys know way more about baseball than I do. It's just like I have this specificness in my brain. If somebody were to tell me, oh, Jeff Jenkins is a good ball knowledge pick, I'd say, how do you not know who Jeff Jenkins is? He was one of the best players on a terrible Brewers team. He was our only consistent guy in the early 2000s. Everyone should know who Jeff Jenkins is, right? My dad, for example, probably doesn't know many players in the current MLB. He knows the big guys and he knows the Brewers very well. He knows the 1980s baseball like the back of his hand because that's what he grew up in. We were talking about baseball the other day and we were talking about the Brewers and he was like, you know a guy the Brewers could really use right now? Ed Romero. If you know who Ed Romero is, aside from my brother, I don't know what to tell you. He had negative 5.2 WAR on his career. I was like, Ed Romero, are you serious right now? He played for 12 years though. So is a guy who played for 12 years, therefore should he be excluded from ball knowledge? I'm just saying, like, it's really ridiculous. So then when I see people say, oh, is this guy ball knowledge? He could be to you, and that's totally okay. Like, in all honesty, I didn't know a lot of the players from like the 90s to the early 2000s because I wasn't alive, and that was the time of my dad's life when he wasn't paying attention to baseball, so he didn't share that baseball knowledge down to me. Like, I know a lot of the 1982 Brewers, even though I wasn't alive, because that was my dad's favorite team, because that was the one team that made the World Series, right? Like, Gorman Thomas, Jim Gantner, Paul Mahler, obviously, Robin Yount, Cecil Cooper, Ben Ogilvy, like all of these guys I know very well. Don Money, Pete Vukovich, like these guys to me are not ball knowledge. To the majority of fans, they should be ball knowledge, right? Or like Lloyd Wainer is a Hall of Famer. I bet you you don't know who he is. I bet you you didn't know that his nickname was Lil Poison and that his older brother, Paul, was nicknamed Big Poison. So therefore, is that ball knowledge? But he's a Hall of Famer. That shouldn't be ball knowledge. There's levels to everything. And I also feel that a big part of this ball knowledge epidemic is fans trying to cling on to the past. Because at the end of the day, if younger kids than me don't know who Josh Donaldson is, okay, he won an MVP 10 years ago. Like, I can't tell you who won the MVP 10 years, like the year that I was born. That was like 2003. I don't know who that is, right? It's like, and I shouldn't have had that knowledge when I was 10. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the fact that they think that Josh Donaldson is ball knowledge, that's fine. You know, whatever. If they think that a guy is ball knowledge who was in the time of your lives when you were paying attention to baseball, more power to them. You know, or if they're a casual fan who's just getting into it and they are like, wow, I didn't know that Orlando Arcia made an all-star game. Wow, that's really neat. And then somebody's going to come in, well, actually, when he was on the Atlanta Braves and the Braves had so many fan votes that he was able to get in, even though really his best season was in Milwaukee in like 2017. Who cares? Like, genuinely, who cares? And why are you trying to, like, knock people down, given their ball knowledge? Like, I'll admit, like, I've commented on some of these guys' YouTube channels, like, my own, like, ball knowledge takes, you know? And, like, if they say, who's your best ball knowledge catcher poll, I say Mario Feliciano, because, like, that's just hilarious, you know? Or, like a Logan Schaefer, you know? A Matt Gamble, you know? Brother of Ben Gamble, as we know. Ben Gamble, much better career, though. So my point is, it's like ball knowledge is so changing. I feel the same way about music. When people are saying, music these days is just so bad. Back when I was a kid, all the music was the best. People were saying that when you were a kid too. People were saying that back when you were a kid. There have literally been studies done. I'll try to find it and I'll try to put a picture of it or whatever on here. That's basically like everyone thinks that music peaked when they were in their early teen years. Because of course it did. I look back at the early 2010s music from anywhere from like 2011 to like 2016, and I'm like, man, that music was so good. Why don't we have that now? It's because the stuff that's stuck around is the really good stuff, you know? It's like the crap hasn't stuck around. So now you listen to the music now, you hear a lot of the stuff that you may view as not as good, and also things change. And 10 years down the line, these people who are kids are gonna think, oh man, music nowadays just isn't as good as we had it in the mid-2020s, you know? So it's constantly changing, and like I said, it's the exact same thing with ball knowledge. What you think is ball knowledge is what you think is ball knowledge. No one is the arbiter of ball knowledge, you know? Like, just because I think somebody isn't ball knowledge, like I said, if I was talking to my brother, Mario Feliciano is not ball knowledge. That is common knowledge between us. Hernan Perez was my favorite player when he was on the Brewers. My dad talks about Hernan Perez all the time, about how we need to bring him back. We have looked up his stats in the Mexican League many, many times. Doing very good, by the way. To the average fan, that is ball knowledge. Hernan Perez was kind of a nobody utility player for some pretty mediocre Brewers teams. And then, you know, we started getting good at the end. And then also you bounce around with like the Tigers and whatnot. What's ball knowledge to my dad isn't ball knowledge to me, and what's ball knowledge to me isn't ball knowledge to my dad. I can look at a player from the 1980s who had 300 plate appearances, who played for the Brewers, and I'm like, oh, this guy, well, I've never heard of him before. My dad goes, oh, yeah, no, I remember. Yeah, there was a game, they slid him over to shortstop, got a couple of base knocks there. And then I look at him, I'm like, yeah, he's right. Because that's what he knows. That's not ball knowledge to him. To me, that's an elite ball knowledge pull. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's kind of silly that people are putting stock into people online of basically being the arbiters of ball knowledge. And I'm not knocking any of the creators who are doing it because, hey, get your bag, you know, get your followers up, do all those things. I'm not here to tear those guys down. Because what they're doing, if they found a niche, they found a niche, and that's fantastic. So I want to put that out there. I'm just like warning people in other generations that it's like, things change, and that's okay. And for somebody to actually get into baseball, I'm here to grow the sport. Like, that's what I want. I made this channel to talk about baseball, and hopefully that there'd be a couple of people every now and then that are like, oh, wow, like this person makes me more interested in baseball. Like, that's what I'm here to do. And I feel that this idea of almost gatekeeping about what is ball knowledge and what isn't ball knowledge, I think is a serious issue. And we talk about the ball knowledge epidemic. I don't think the epidemic is people not knowing enough about baseball. The epidemic is people trying to discount what baseball is, you know, like this is basketball now, but I saw somebody talk about like comment section, like ball knowledge. And it's like John Wall. It's like, dude, he was a first round pick. He was the future of the Wizards franchise. He hasn't been in the league for half a decade. If you're joining basketball right now, like I got really into basketball when the Bucks were on their championship run, you know? I didn't know the prime players of the early 2010s or the mid 2000s, you know? I didn't know like ISO Joe until I was like actually paying attention to the sport a lot more, you know? So if somebody says John Wall is their elite ball knowledge, I may not think that. But that's not my position to be like, oh my gosh, you don't know anything about basketball. Just let them grow. Like, let them figure it out. Like, the purpose of all of this, like, go and look at Baseball Reference. Like, that's what it's there for, you know? And you'll find players that you're like, wow, this is a really interesting story. That's one of my favorite things about Forgotten Fridays. Like, Sean Markham, to me, right? The guy who I just made a video on last week, is not ball knowledge to me that he hit a grand slam because I was there. So to 40,000 people, it's not ball knowledge because they were there. If they were watching it on TV, whatever it may have been. To a lot of other people, that's a neat tidbit that they learned that day. That's what ball knowledge really should be, is your own personal views of it and how that can grow. There's no reason to be putting other people down because of their ball knowledge or whatever you view it as, because everyone's at a different level. And quite frankly, there is always a bigger fish in the sea. There are plenty of people that I see online that'll say, this guy's ball knowledge. And I'm like, no, he's not. In my mind, because I really, really love baseball. And then I see people commenting, wow, what a pull, what a pull. And I'm like, come on, you didn't know that Joe Inglet threw a perfect inning back in whatever year it was? Great game, by the way. So it's just all silly. It's all silly. So shout out to the content creators, though, that are getting their bag, doing their thing. So shout out to you. But I'm just saying, don't put people down for their ball knowledge takes. Whoever is ball knowledge to you is ball knowledge to you, like whatever it may be. That's what I got. I know that this was kind of a rambling video, but that's what I had to say. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all those things, and I'm out. Peace.